Hello, everybody. Gonna have a good talk tonight. Had quite the day, but always give it that 1 minute to let people log on, and we'll have an important talk today about a lot of narratives by a lot of characters, some legally registered with the vehicle and some not. So I see people are starting to come on. Hello, everybody. We're going to have a pretty good talk tonight. We're going to outline a whole lot with both the legal political vehicles, their narratives, what you all need to know. And then we're going to get into the other half of this, that behind the scenes, the websites. I get so many messages every day that refers me to links. I try to address the most messages. I literally hundreds. If you look at my followers now, every day I take on probably about 20, 30 new followers. It's not friend requests, it's just people mostly from Alberta, but a lot of people throughout Western Canada, and then of course Canada at large. And the messages, the messenger, and I want to address things because a lot of people can fall to creative narratives, especially by authority figures, politicians, or people with creative websites or a good financial backing behind them, and they can narrate stories. And I get it. A lot of people that hear it sounds a lot like what you're doing. Oh, it's almost there, but in absence of legal definition and terms, it's absolutely not what I'm talking about, not what I support, not what I'm working on. So we're going to start to go through things here tonight. I've broken it into two halves of this segment. It's going to be the legal vehicles, political authority from individuals who run parties, what they're selling you, and what we need to understand about that, how that's different from me. Then part two is going to absolutely go into the non-legal vehicles, people who are out there in groups, a lot of which have much foreign interference that demand you of the public to step outside your legal realm in our society, in our country. And we got to talk about that because it's very, very important. I know for a lot of people who watch me, I straddle these lines. I go out globally. I go into big, big stages now, big narratives with big world players who absolutely decide things. And I'm working very hard for all of you to get the truth, to get what would be the legal path, how we get there, and to have a nice diagram for all of you to follow. That's what I work on. So it is troubling for me in various narratives, what is and what isn't, and how do you all distinguish. So if anything, this video I'm going to do for all of you tonight is to absolutely go through each and every one bit by bit so you know what you're getting into. Now, so the start, the legal path versus what would be attempted legal paths, I call it. And we're going to start here with Paul Hinman. He's the leader of the Wild Rose Independence Party of Alberta. He champions basically a fair deal through autonomy, or he's ready to go for independence, okay? That's their platform. It's clearly laid out. That's where the party's going today. When we talk about that, autonomy means trying to get rules changed in Canada so that Alberta has a say in so many areas. I don't believe autonomy will work because of our established constitution. Paul Hinman doesn't address constitutional challenges. He states that he's just going to take autonomy policies and enact those for Albertans, and that's going to be good enough. Unfortunately, Paul doesn't address in any legal means with law firms or any one lawyer that I've seen yet to date. I haven't seen one law firm or one Canadian lawyer come forward to say, yes, Paul Hinman, I'm going to help you enact all these autonomy policies. They're going to work, and there's nothing the federal government of Canada can do about it. Sorry, I'm not trying to run Paul down here. I'm just telling all of you how it goes on the legal path. And you should all ask this question too. You should say, Paul Hinman, the autonomy policies your party presents, which law firms and which lawyers do you have to ensure we can enact all this stuff as you say it's going to be done? That's number one, everybody. So you can clearly see already there's a huge problem here. Number two, we're going to talk about Jay Hill with the Maverick Party, a federal organization. Now, he talks constitutional form or absolute Western region separation, meaning BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. Now, again, we're going to get into legality. Sure, legally, constitutional reform is absolutely a great way to get things done in Canada if you want to stay. However, what is the track record of constitutional reforms in Canada? I can clearly tell you, a mentor, a good friend who even calls me a colleague in some of his lectures, which is really nice in specific areas, Richard Albert, who did work for our federal government, everybody, so you know, top constitutional lawyer in Canada, bar none. There's nobody better than Richard Albert. He is number one for Canada. However, like so many other great Canadians, we've lost him to the United States of America. He's a Texan now. I mean, he's got dual citizenship, but he works for Texas Law. He's the director of law for all of Texas at their highest universities. He's a guy who teaches judges and lawyers, okay? That's Richard Albert. Now, he says Canada has one of the hardest amendable constitutions in the world, that many constitutional reforms will never happen. It's just too hard, and the way to win all of the country to enact a province's changes will likely never happen, and they don't. There's not a whole lot of amendments in Canada. There's very, very little change to any at all with our 1867 Constitution all the way up to 1982. And we have had specific amendments and Supreme Court decisions, but they're very limited in scope and depth, because if you go too far, you're immediately shut down on vote from the provinces, and then they start to fracture and break. It's almost impossible, like I said, to get the constitutional reforms we would like to do, that Jay Hill champions, a lot of parties champion, but they're just never going to happen. There's too much opposition right across the board in Canada. The game is rigged against you for any kind of change. And of course, he champions Western separation in his federal narrative, which there are a minority bunch of folks that enjoy that. The problem is Alberta's percentage of separatists and Saskatchewan's percentage of separatists are absolutely not matched with BC or Manitoba. Not even close, not even within a ballpark. I absolutely know this for a fact. 1 year ago, literally today, I was in BC for a whole week. You can go on my timeline before the massive break of COVID. I went absolutely out to British Columbia for over a week. I toured every municipality in the greater Vancouver region and absolutely determined that the majority vote for separation is absolutely minute. Minute. There is not any real call in all of BC. I mean, we know there's a northeastern corner of British Columbia that would absolutely probably like to separate, but they don't hold the sway over the province. The province, at a large margin, will not vote for succession. This is the same for Manitoba. The small postage stamp still has a tremendous power and influence all across Manitoba. The minority would separate. The rural outskirt Manitobian would separate. However, in percentage-wise, we're talking single digits at best, both BC, Manitoba. When you narrate adding a whole regional group, which is legal, the United Nations Security Council, not in Canada, but international law, and the UNSC, which can override the authority of Canada? Absolutely. Could administer a Western Canada regional boundary referendum and enact that across all four of those provinces, effectively locking Canada out of control over that. They could do that. All 5 members together can and have done that. Those are the only legal independence paths forward. However, here's the problem. Trying to pass a referendum when you take Saskatchewan, Alberta, plus Manitoba and BC, with their absolute low successionist numbers, you will bleed out Alberta and Saskatchewan. You'll be overrun by an absolute no vote. You'd be lucky to even see 8%. Add them together from upwards of maybe 30% in Alberta right now, we would be brought down to 8% and absolutely lose the vote. And once you lose a vote like that, it's game over for you. The UNSC is not something you can enact and provide for the Canadian people on a whim. Doing a monumental task like this is hard enough to organize those 5 and secure that vote, let alone you got to win a majority of the UN as well on top of that, which I believe is possible, absolutely. But the problem is losing that referendum. Once you do that Herculean task and you lose the referendum, and you know you will, just by adding Manitoba and British Columbia into the mix at present time, you're absolutely going to lose all ability to ever separate. That's the Western Canada narrative that absolutely in no way, shape, or form will ever pass today. And anyone telling you that is only trying to lead you right back in to Canada. I truly believe that. Drew Barnes is number 3 on the legal vehicles, the political party vehicles. He's UCP. He absolutely preaches autonomy and fair deal. Now, I enjoy Drew just as I enjoy Jay for some of his narratives, Paul Hinman too. But again, it's what can be done in Canada and what we have to face. Absolutely under Drew Barnes' fair deal autonomy, he never addresses Section 91 of the Constitution, which is absolute authority over federal Ottawa to impose anything by any means necessary to secure Alberta's revenue, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. And business owners, we see all 3 of these parties, well, not UCP, but Drew Barnes hints at it, that lockdowns are wrong and businesses rise up against the UCP mandate supported by NDP and all left opposition here in Alberta. But here's the problem, everybody. Canada holds the keys on all business at the end of the day. Even though the right to have a business and register in Alberta is part of our civil law constitutional division of powers, we've allowed the enactment of the goods and services tax federally, registering every business. We do not control banking. Even in autonomy, we don't officially control the only Crown bank, corporate bank in Canada, ATB, because we're underneath a higher power of a constitutional authority of Section 91, which includes banking. ATB will absolutely, inside Confederation, follow the law, letter of the law, and absolutely go with the Bank of Canada, because that's where they get their monetary system and their interest rates and are allowed to operate. That includes all chartered banks and private banks in Canada. If you do not follow Section 91, they will freeze and lock out all your bank accounts. That's a fact. Businesses will not be able to do payroll. They will not be able to do any kind of real transactions unless it's by cash, and it better be a foreign currency, American dollar. I can promise all of you today that's not going to happen for Alberta. that it's absolutely going to lead to a lot of companies. As of such, I know myself, anyone who's ever messed with GST or gotten on the wrong side of GST or the government, they shut you down. Overnight, finished, it's over. Good luck registering your business with any chartered bank. You have zero absolute federal crown power. You can't usurp the system. I wish it was true, but if you say you want to follow the legal path, I've gone through all of these things in entirety. It's what has led to absolute independence and why you have to push away autonomy. Already, through Section 91, that power of taxation of the federal government by any mode means necessary has already ruined the loophole for police that allowed us to be able to have an autonomy police that's already usurped today. Already usurped. It's coming. RCMP are already fighting back. Ottawa's already absolutely designed something to ruin us here in Alberta, even attempting to get a provincial police. And it looks like some of my notifications aren't off. Okay, so that finishes. I went through the first half on legal vehicles, political legal vehicles, legal stars that are absolutely running legal paths forward. I just don't know about their narratives, and this is what I educated to you. There's more to this too once I finish the next section, and I'm going to leave you all with positive things you can do to change these narratives or get through to all of these various party leaders. Now we're going to get into what I call the illegal path, and it's insurrection. Okay? No longer autonomy and constitutional reform. We're going to get into what people want to do with constitutional reform, but they're absolutely insurrectionists. They do not have any legal vehicle, let alone a legal path, and often these people are foreign funded. You can see it in the videos, you can see it in the stars of the great productions, are all in clearly Australian, New Zealand. You can hear the accents, and it's no different than our Liberal Party that rules over, and our CPC. When you look at party insiders, you're dealing with United Kingdom, Australians, New Zealanders, all through the Crown, and it's the same people who are now going to push on you insurrection. They have creative ways of doing it. Unify the people. Myth is Canada. The latest one is the Great Canadian Political Power Shift. All of these things are illegal narratives. They're registered websites, they do creative videos, they do social media, they talk really well about what sounds like constitutional reform. They even grab dates in history, 1931 Westminster, but they leave out an absence of any legal viable path, meaning one, international law. You'll never hear any of these people talk about 1946 and the actual world as it is. That's 1946. That's the UN. A lot of you have been told a whole narrative of propaganda sold to it, even by mainstream parties, to absolutely dumb you down, make you ignorant, and then they come up with all of these illegal narratives to turn you into insurrectionists. An insurrectionist is not a separatist. They're two different things. As I proved, a separatist is illegal, can be a legal vehicle, and can be a legal platform, not only in Canada, but is absolutely legal throughout this world and outlined very clearly. Put Westminster away. Anything prior to 1946, ignore people. Ignore them. That is not our world. It's not how we're regulated, and it's not how all countries operate since 1946 onward. Are there constitutional problems with the country of Canada? Absolutely. But it's a country. And when you're called upon to join a website that goes through some of these things, and it sounds really good, but every time you get to the point where they say, sign this form where you absolutely abdicate anything to do with the country of Canada, they're getting you to sign away your legal status as a citizen. They're getting you to sign on to being insurrectionist, which is illegal in this country. In the USA, you'd be signing a form saying, I am a domestic terrorist. Now, we're not there yet. We're not there yet in Canada, but it's coming. And they're already starting to prosecute people, and the warnings have come to an end. And we're going to see through our Supreme Court, it's already starting, our superior courts, the absolute addressment of this. Look closely at the videos. Why are all the actors with, they don't have any kind of French, Canadian, or Western accent whatsoever. It's Australian, New Zealand, United Kingdom. These are rogue insurrectionists. They don't register a legal party. You notice how they never do? They never go on Elections Canada, which is a pretty simple process. I'm going through it. I went through the much, much difficult process of the provincial party registry, which I did in 2019. Absolutely. The party still exists. IPA, Independence Party of Alberta. It's absolutely 100% legal. It exists. Why do none of these insurrectionist groups ever try to register a legal party? Everybody, I live in a trailer park here in Canada. I'm in the third-class citizen territory. Within the next coming weeks and several months, I will absolutely, as I did in Alberta, be registering a federal, legally registered political party that you'll be able to find on the Government of Canada website under Elections Canada. You will absolutely see it in the coming months. That's my word, which there's no reason to doubt what I say is absolutely true, because I already have a track record of doing it. You can go on Wikipedia and you'll find me there. You'll find me there. You'll find me, Google search my name and political publications right here in Canada. All kinds of news stories. The question I have for all of you, why are none of these insurrectionist groups, even though they have some creative literature and some points they hit well, but they always roll into the absolute insurrection, the absolute, let's get all of you to sign on to insurrection, which will be deemed terrorism. It will be deemed that coming forward. That's what they're trying to get you on. They all have a different narrative to get you to absolutely do that. None of them want to register legally. None of them want to put their official names forward, because the reality is they're ultimately all being run by a higher foreign influence. I know this for a fact. I have no problem telling you I work with some of the highest American people on the world stage today. I'm doing the same thing with Russia right now. I've got a little bit in there with China, a very little bit in with France. I've been neglectful of France for well over 2 years, but I did get great progress, so I kind of don't worry about that too much. I haven't moved very far with UK at all, but why would I? UK has a real problem with attempting to usurp any kind of colonialism. And of course, I've finished with every other main of the five. So we got Russia, USA, France, China, and UK. All of them. So everybody, I hope this video is great. I hope it sits well with you. I hope these addressments I made to each and every one of you who follow me Take it. Go forward with all these different legal political parties and their political leaders and narratives. Get on them and say, hey, what about these issues Dave brings up? Because I promise you they're your issues. For all of you messaging me about Unify the People, Myth is Canada, or the Great Canadian Political Power Shift, ask them why they haven't gone on to legally register in Canada. Why they're just a website, why there's no leadership brought forward, and ask them why. All in their videos and actors, it's either computer analog or it's absolutely foreign person starring in their videos for voiceovers. Ask them that. Why are there no real Canadians at the top of these publications? And I already know the answer, because they're insurrectionists. That's foreign interference, manipulating a gross amount of Canadians, some of which are on my friends list here, and I hope this helps you all forward too, because there is a legal way about going about this. It's not trapped in a Westminster 1931. It's absolutely 1946 onward. That is the world, like it or not. That's how the system runs. Canada is a country, like it or not, that's how it is. People have to stop just jumping on every little narrative because it feels good or it sounds good. And I get it, it's hard to distinguish what language overlaps and what absolutely sends you down the pit of despair. And I promise you, at the end of the day, it's UK-led. UK-led to absolutely squash any chance of a legal path to independence. It's called psychological warfare, propaganda, and so many are falling for it to absolutely remove you from any way, shape, or form of getting to true legal independence. That's clear for me. As I go out on the world stage, I'm learning all of this by so very, very many nations throughout the world, top scholars and experts. This isn't some kind of new experience in the Commonwealth countries or formers who went independent and they still have damaged carryover constitutional norms that they picked up just because of corrupt politicians. The hope and what's great to go forward here, no matter the legal path or the insurrectionists that go forward, everybody, we have to address lawyers, law firms, scholars. That's what I'm going for. That's what I'm going to be bringing to all of you. And this is what you should be asking all of these legal parties or illegal groups. Say, where are your legal professionals? Where are your scholars? Where's your roadmap detailed? How come absolutely none of them address a provincial constitution, absolute exact constitutional reforms, or nation forming, roll out a constitution for a would-be nation, whether that was a Western narrative or an independent provincial narrative? How come none of the legal or the illegal groups are embarking on any of this? And when they do, they're in absence of law. It's really babble by individuals who have no legal authority or expertise and are not functioning in the realm of what is and what isn't in this world, and are absolutely trying to get all of you to go rogue. Follow the path that leads to absolute constitutionalism. That's what I'm rolling out. That's my tremendous gift for all Albertans, all Western Canadians, and absolutely all Canadians across the board. Should you want to stay in Confederation, well then let's deal with the provincial constitution, as no province has one. It's their power to create one, but no politician ever elected ever wishes to give up that absolute autocracy once in power, to give any of you any kind of written, codified rules of governance that they have to be held to. This is throughout the United States, but not in Canada. Not for 150 years, over 150 years. Not one politician has said, hey, you know what? I should codify a constitution so myself and all the legislative assembly members that make judgments, bills, and pass all this against all of you should be held to some kind of standard and account. Rules of your governance. Nope. Whether it's legal or whether it's illegal, not a one of them talks about that. Not a one of them. Then you go on to an independent nation, whether it was from a province or a block region of provinces and territories. Same thing. Nobody rolls any of that out, a how-to map or how we'll be governed or how much better this is for all of you, or in any realm of legality at least, with world-binding law that's absolutely imposed on us since World War II, absolutely 1946. These groups, these narratives, all from UK, are absolutely to hijack you, the people, so that you fall flat on your face. You're basically going to be registered terrorists or registered insurrectionists right here in Canada, and it absolutely chases the mainstream away. Who do you think would enact something like that? Well, France, too, because of Quebec, for Quebecers, but absolutely it's the British authority, and it's a nice, easy way to manipulate a mass amount of people. And it's sad, it's unfortunate, but they're not sneaky. Like I said, look at the video, the accents, that gives it away, everybody. No registration whatsoever. There's no registration in Canada whatsoever. You're being played. If you can't look this stuff up, find it registered in your country legally through corporate registries or societal registries. See who's running the show. Or on the political side, Elections Alberta or any province. If it's not there, it isn't legal, and it's a con job on all of you. Somebody has something to hide. It's foreign influenced. These are the things we need to address. All constitutional, absolutely, and you all need that education. Constitutional amendments, if you educate enough people throughout enough provinces, which is something else I wish to roll out, absolutely, all by way of law firms, legal scholars across every major university and even the colleges right across Canada. That's what I'll be doing. I have enough world academics to absolutely bring a lot of people on board. Will I win all of them? No. I won't win the Trevor Toombs, the Andrew Leaches, the many, many other academics who are absolutely in bed with the government, whether that's at a federal or provincial level. But you know what? There's enough with the small following who are just as brilliant and bright. I don't need them to have a massive following. I just need them. And then registered as people, and they get to go forward, and finally they get a stage through a legally registered political party. That's why I chose the federal. It absolutely strengthens all of those courageous academics, masters of their specialty, and it will also help to bring law firms on board because they will have the federal legal authority, the legal vehicle right there for them, and they'll be protected right across Canada. And it'll only give more people, empower more people a voice, and absolutely give all of you what is and what isn't. Thanks, everybody. This is my video. I encourage you, share it out. Share it out to Paul Hinman's groups, to WIPA. Share it out to Jay Hill and Maverick and all of his groups. Share it out to Drew Barnes and UCP. I encourage it. Get it out to NDP. Get it out to all the political parties. This is what is going to be coming. And they can all laugh. They laughed before. But it will happen. And you will see the best of the best for the first time come forward in Canadian history. I really believe that. For the other side of it, the illegal side, the insurrectionists, it's not that I hate the people of Canadian citizenship. They're involved. It's mostly the foreign interests or the new immigrants that came from UK who have an attachment to UK or New Zealand or Australia that absolutely support full Crown authority and are absolutely trying to hijack all of you. Don't be fooled. Don't sign insurrectionist papers. Make sure it's a legally registered party or a legally registered society that has a corporate hierarchy registered right here in Canada or in one of the provinces or territories. Because if it doesn't, you're setting yourself up to become a domestic terrorist, like an Antifa or other. And you can say, "Oh, I'll never go to the United States." Well, maybe, but you might want to work for an American employer sometime. Careful what you get involved in. Careful what you do. Don't sign on to people's things when it's not legally registered in your country or in any province or region or territory. Don't be fooled. Get schooled. I would never hurt any Canadian citizen. I would never lead any of you into any kind of destruction I wouldn't myself want to face. Be smarter than the beast. Get it shared out. Help your fellow Canadians. I promise you in the months to come, the legal rollout will happen, and it will be done absolutely for each and every one of you on the Canadian stage, right across Canada, and I'll get it done. I always do. Bye now.